The post-Heavensward patch content titled the Dragonsong War once again pushed the story of Final Fantasy XIV in a positive direction. I'd say this is a great continuation to the Heavensward events and offers memorable moments alongside very memorable characters. I don't think I've met more compelling characters in Final Fantasy XIV until these patches. I enjoyed my time with it, although I admit there's certainly some dangerously large bits of confusion as well. Spoilers ahead. I would certainly say the patch content maintained the focus that the base Heavensward game had. It was very much dialed in on the Ishgardian story and how best to overcome their trials and threats starting out. I think that in this case, they brought a meaningful conclusion to the Nidhogg storyline. I enjoyed it as Ishgard struggled to find peace in their own city, yet tried to create peace with their enemies. The parallels of those events unfolding were nice to see. I think the build-up to Nidhogg was well done, although I personally would have liked to see Estinian pay for the price of his arrogance. Perhaps that is a commentary as a whole for Heavensward, in that the consequences didn't feel up to the stakes. There's a moment where Emmerich is stabbed in the streets, and as tragic as it would have been to lose the homie right there, I would understand it. He created an upheaval in his country that he could not control, and instead of mending the fractures of his people, he was so short-sighted on peace with the dragons. The stakes were certainly high, but not so much the threat. Nidhogg not killing Vidalfnir, while understandable, removed some powerful motivational elements that could have made the factors of the story stick. Svelger's decision to fight his brother was certainly unexpected from me, mostly because nothing had really changed. He adequately explained his positioning so many times, in that he too greatly mourns the death of his sibling, and the only reason he is not consumed by rage is Shiva. And if not for her, he'd be right beside Nidhogg. I think the death of Vidalfnir would have greatly assisted us in negotiation. I also feel the lack of a Ysayle flashback hurt the negotiation as well. It would have benefited the scene greatly to see how Ysayle made her defining decision as a character, as a way to get one up on the negotiation at hand. Still, the conclusion was great and sufficiently epic. The choice to throw the eyes off the edge instead of destroying them? Not what I would have done. When I mentioned compelling characters, I was definitely speaking of the Warriors of Darkness. With something like 5 or 6 scenes, we got characters who bring so much to the story, the game, and the world building. I love that it's so far beyond good versus evil. It's good versus good, and each side has to do whatever is necessary to save themselves. I really like their plights and their struggles, how backed into a corner they are, as well as how much they have sacrificed already. It's really a shame that they didn't stick around for longer, because I really thought they were going to be the main antagonists for Stormblood. But then there's the matters of Minfilia and Urianger. I really struggle to understand the inner workings of these plotlines because I feel as though they skipped vital aspects of storytelling. Starting with Urianger, he explains, in the most obtuse way possible mind you, that he started working with the Ascians and stumbled upon information of the Warriors of Darkness. In doing so, he plots to have them clash to bring back Hydaelyn. How did you work with the Ascians? Why were you given a modicum of trust? How did you even come across this information? Why is nobody in the Scions of the Seventh Dawn asking these questions? For Minfilia, there's this cutscene where we finally get to see her and she's become Hydaelyn, but it's explained that she basically has no power left, to the point where she can't even talk to the people, let alone maintain Minfilia's physical form. So she disintegrates into the Aether or what have you. But after the clash with the Warriors of Darkness, she's back? And it's because of the light of the crystals? Am I supposed to believe that Urianger manipulated the Warriors of Darkness and the Ascians to power up light crystals? If it was possible to bring Hydaelyn back in this matter, we could have just killed Primals ourselves. And then there is the setup for Stormblood. I've been clamoring for resolution on Omega, and we've been hearing about Ala Mhigo for so long that I'm glad we got some momentum here. I'm very suspicious of Nero, both as a character in the game but also as a plot device. In many ways, he has the building blocks of a Deus Ex Machina, and I'd like to see him stand on his own. I can certainly say I'm saddened by Papalymo's death, but I also feel we didn't spend enough time with him. He was a cheeky character and I admire his final hurrah, even if it was only a delaying tactic. A strong death for me was definitely Ilberd though. It was something I didn't see coming with Griffin, but as soon as it happened I berated myself for not putting those easy pieces together myself. In ways similar to the Warriors of Darkness, his world and his people were the biggest concerns for him, and he did whatever it took to get them back. I would also say that I enjoyed the death of Yida and the recruitment of Lys. I like that we effectively lost 3 members of the Scions in these patches, but Yida's was more of a reincarnation. There's something poetic about Yida dying and Lise taking her spot as herself instead of as her sister. I liked it. I really like Kryle as a totally random aside, by the way. Kryle's very cool. With all that aside though, I think where my biggest issue lies is the lack of any meaningful information on the Ascians. They have been able to operate for so long and accomplish so much in their plans, but we still know hardly anything about them as a people, their motivations, personalities, and what exactly they're working towards. Mostly the same for the Garlean Empire as well. When I say Heavensward is self-contained, I'm looking at it on a grand scale. It is my understanding that the plot of Final Fantasy XIV is a battle between Hydaelyn and Zodiark, or rather their minions. The Warriors of Light and the Ascians, with some Garlean involvement to make the conflict not 100% mystical. I feel as though there is little to no progression on this grand scale plot. Hydaelyn being sent to another world seems functionally identical to her not having the power to speak or help us, as was the case for some time. That's where my attention is at the moment. I think Heavensward and its patch content offered a great glimpse into another place with great characters and great moments, but I also feel it wasn't all that relevant to the development and understanding of the Ascians. I feel as though that story, which in my eyes is the story, has remained stagnant. If you are at all familiar with Falcom's Trail series, you might understand some parallels I would be quick to make. Regardless, I found the Dragonsong War to be very enjoyable. I can see the subtle and less subtle ways they are setting up threads for the future, and I'm definitely looking forward to them. With Stormblood, I'm hoping we return to the story at large. I'd like to know and understand my villains. I like to engage with them and struggle against them. The Ascians have stayed a mystery for far too long, and the Garleans have been on the back burner as well. So, hopefully they both step up to center stage. Thanks for watching, appreciate it, see you on the next video.